Hello, I'm Allie Knull, and I will tell a little bit more about myself in a second, but first off, welcome. Happy Innovation Week. Thanks for coming out on a Monday. I'm going to try not to be boring and give you a little bit more insight, but first, I want to know a little bit about you. That's right, there's going to be audience participation. Now you're scared. Okay, so if you have your cameras, let's go. What was your first job? Did you have a first job? Did you get paid? Did you get paid by the hour? Did your parents give you $2? What was it? I want to know. And it should show up here. Oh, we got 1, 3. Yes, it's working. Grass cutting, love it. All right, chores. We got paid for chores. Retail lifeguard business analyst? Were you 8? Okay. Or was that post-grad? Post-grad business analyst, okay. Wow, grocery bagger, petroleum engineer. Ooh, sorry, I just saw the biggest one that said a camp counselor that was paid under the minimum wage. Awkward. Lots of retail, barista, automotive tech, bicycle. Mow lawn, grass cutting, they kind of, okay, so sorry, this is not natural language processing. It's not going to combine things together. It's just kind of taking the same kind of thing. Pay for delivery. Also, like, this is super informal. If you gotta go, you gotta go. There's more snacks, whatever it might be. Excellent. Cashier. Subway. Like, do we mean Subway the restaurant? Or like, working the subway? Because there could be two different things. Panhandling. That works too, that works too. Clearly I take myself so seriously. Excellent, okay, so lots to do here. But I just want you to recognize, look at how far you've come. From mowing lawns and being a business analyst at 8 years old, your parents in their neighborhood, good job. Okay, and for the mech design engineers, that was probably last week, right? Okay. This is me. I am Allie Knull. I am a settler's great-grandchild. I had grandparents that were given land on Treaty 6 and Treaty 8 territory. The land was not theirs. It was not given to them by people that owned that land either. What they did was they cultivated and manipulated those resources in Treaty 6 and Treaty 8. I now come from a family that goes into urban areas, and I work with Indigenous populations in those urban centers. I sit on a board of directors that helps urban Indigenous elder care to come back to the traditional teaching. So even though I am a settler's great-grandchild, I am giving back to the people that gave us land. And that's my land acknowledgement. I am a recovering recruiter, and that means that I no longer identify as one of those horrible people that decides that you are good based on your resume alone. I am a chartered professional in human resources, which covers Alberta and all of Canada, a senior human resources management, senior certified professional, which covers most of North America, and I'm also a registered professional recruiter, and they haven't figured out that I'm a recovering recruiter yet, so please don't tell them. If you'd like to connect with me, that is my QR code. I share lots of tips and tricks, and mostly I share jobs that are happening in the innovation and technology sectors that have salaries attached to them, requirements attached to them, and they're going to be something that I would personally apply to as well, or I would work with those people. So please do follow me, and I will do my best to keep you entertained on LinkedIn, because somebody's got to. All right, thank you for coming out on a Monday. I have 4 objectives today, and these should be your 4 objectives as well. First off, we're going to define what tech adjacent means, because I think a lot of people have different opinions on this. So we're just going to wrap it all up into one. Secondly, you are going to walk out of here with a tool to create your own skills inventory. And I'll tell you what that is in a minute. Number 3, we're going to have 3 key tools to transition to tech. So what do you need to have in your suitcase of skills or your toolkit of skills to make it over? And then number 4, I'm going to list a whole bunch of different challenges that I've seen and I've helped people coach on when it comes to transitioning to tech. But the most important thing is I, too, transitioned to tech. So it can be done. But let's understand a little bit about what's happening. So in a little less than 10 years, we've seen a whole bunch of stuff transition into technology. Alberta was known as the land of milk and honey, otherwise known as oil and energy, and I think that's why all of you are here tonight. But we've seen recent funding examples go towards national funding, like federal incentives to bring people into innovation and technology. We've seen international accelerators, so that's your plug-and-plays, that's your 500 startups, that's your creative destruction labs, which are just basically areas to cultivate and innovate and get a whole bunch of smart brains in the same space and help elevate them. And then we're actually seeing a lot of global talent come over as well. So that comes from being on the top 100 lists, the top 100 best places to live in the world in Calgary, the top 100 most inviting family cities, one of the best places in Canada, and you're very close to Banff, which, I mean, talk about tech adjacent, we're Banff adjacent right here, so that works. We've seen the creation of unicorns, and I put an asterisk up here because unicorn is a familiar, does anybody know what a unicorn is when it comes to technology? A whopping 4 of you, excellent. Okay, so a unicorn is a company that has a $1 billion valuation. That doesn't mean that it makes billions of dollars in revenue. That means that it has a valuation. So somebody has given a sticker that says they make it to $1 billion in US dollars. So I have an asterisk here because we don't get paid in US dollars. We'll come up to that. But that's your Neo Financial, that's your Benevity, there's ShareWorks. There's a few other that are almost at unicorn status, but not quite there yet. So we can't really count them here. Next up, early stage funding. So again, stages come from whenever people raise money, which is venture capital funding. Early stage means pre-seed, which means before a seed round, which there's dollar amounts to it. I'm not gonna give you the dollar amounts because they change. Like, basically, every time a Chinook comes through, there's a new valuation for that. So pre-seed is a smaller amount, seed is kind of like okay, and then upwards. But we are seeing $542 million between Edmonton and Calgary. Sorry, I said the E word. 542 puts us over half of the median for ecosystems getting funding. And that means that we're higher than most of the places around the world. So you look up Dubai, we're higher than them. You look up certain places in China, we're higher than them. We're not close to Silicon Valley because they're getting at the high, like 900 million, but we're on the landscape, which also brings us to the last point. We made it to Startup Genome's first quarter 2023, top 60 emerging ecosystems. So you should probably give yourselves a hand because getting onto the ecosystem, what are we doing? Being on a list that is independent, they take information from outside sources, not us just feeding them information, and they said, yep, Calgary's on the map. We did it. Okay, so going back to these Canadian narwhals, which are different than a unicorn, but again, very similar because of one thing. So a Canadian narwhal, there's 2 versions of this. We're seeing Canadian narwhals because they've gotten $10 million US in funding. And there's a list for Canadian narwhals. However, somebody out in Vancouver also said a Canadian narwhal is a $1 billion Canadian valuation because we can't quite crack the US. That's okay. So we're starting to see narwhals. Yay. We're starting to see more funding. So the government's making initiatives, making it easier for people to invest. Well, they gave us the taxation receipts and then they took it away and they might bring it back again. Doesn't matter, we're getting a lot more angel networks coming through. We're seeing a lot more venture capital as well. And so there's lots of injections of cash going into innovation and technology. And then that means we're attracting global talent. So if you're trying to get into tech, you're like, well, Allie, why are you talking about global talent? Because there's really smart people out there. And there's probably a lot of really smart people here too. But when you bring in the really smart people, they need support workers. They need people to help them do what they need to do. So if we can attract the biggest and best brains to Calgary, we can get in more roles. And when we talk about the unicorns getting such a big valuation, that means they hire more people. And they need to hire the producers, but then they need to hire other people as well. So every time that there's more funding and elevation, it's like a rising tide lifts all ships. This is why we want to talk about this. But enough about all the landscape. Let's get into it. So, what are technology adjacent roles? Don't worry, there will be a quiz on this later. I'm just kidding, guys. This is not going to happen. A role that works closely with the product or helps develop the product, but isn't actually a specific coding, engineering, whatever you want to call it, role. And yes, I can use engineering now. The bill hasn't passed, but we won the lawsuit. Hooray! So when you think of tech-adjacent roles, it's going to be somebody that, a digital marketer that might have coding experience can use that for search engine optimization. It could be somebody that uses Power BI. It's a technology piece that not everybody knows how to use, but it's one of the Microsoft products. So somebody that understands how to use these tools to elevate their own potential. So it's not technically knowing how to code. It's not knowing how to produce that product, but being involved in it. And so not technicians, but work with the technical knowledge they have. Or help the producers. So your quality assurance people, your QA/QC, product management, project management, which those two things in itself, we've got ample opportunity to move into. And lots of project management parlays over into technology. And then third, the NPCs. So if you're a gamer, that's a non-playing character. They are the ones that are in the organization, they have a purpose, but that purpose isn't initiated unless something needs to happen from the producers. So your coder needs to get paid. Well, then that's payroll. You've got an issue handling some sort of client complaint. Well, that's customer service or customer success. So those are the NPCs that only get involved when they need to get involved. But they're still part of the game. And they make a really good game for that. Does this make sense? Okay. Don't worry.
Where do you put the subject matter experts?
I'll get to that. So there will be time to ask questions at the end. Not to worry. Subject matter experts was the question. Where do they fall in line? Don't worry. I got a slide for that. But again, I want to talk about typical organizations. So everybody probably in this room has worked in this Venn diagram. You've worked in a corporation where you were very siloed, you were split apart, you might not have been working in product, you might have been working in data or operations, but nobody knew what was going on in the other silo, unless you were in one of those overlapping pieces, in which case you were like HR, or sales, or data analysts, whatever it is there. So typically speaking, we see these very siloed organizations. This means that an organization's a little bit longer in the tooth, or more senior than some of the startup and innovation that we've seen. And there's a reason for that, because when you get bigger, you have to pull into your areas of expertise. But in technology, it's very small. So if that big Venn diagram that you saw was like hundreds of millions of people, maybe not hundreds of millions of people, think of this as just like 2 specks, 3 specks. This is an amoeba compared to an elephant. Product is the one thing that grows and grows and grows, and then operations and data are enveloped by it. You cannot work in innovation unless you have some knowledge of what the product is and what the delivery is. And that's because it's multiple hats. Everyone's wearing multiple hats. Everybody needs to know what's being delivered. Who are we talking to? What are we selling? What's going on? So product is wrapping around everything. However, you might actually have little tiny silos opening up. But as the organization grows, this is where you pull apart into the typical organizations. And I only talk about this because I am an organizational psychologist by trade. So why do we need to talk about these tech-adjacent roles? As we're pulling apart in that Venn diagram, we need to support how things are going through. And from a product perspective, in the 3 buckets here, product being the support, the creation, the refinement, the adjustment of anything that has to do with the product without actually touching the product and coding or manufacturing or whatever innovation that we are working in. So you're working alongside your best buddies with, you're sitting a cubicle over, or maybe you're still working remote, not sure. But you're not working technically hands-on in the product. You know exactly when it's being delivered, you know who's delivering it, you know what's happening, but it's not yours. Operations make sure everything keeps going. It's the engine that could, so to speak. It's the coal going into the engine, that driving the train, driving the product. And it makes sure that whenever there's triggers of innovation, or if there is triggers of competition, operations keeps things going. And then data is the feedback loop. You cannot have a product without some sort of feedback coming from your customers, from the producers themselves, from people within the organization, people trying to sell the product, whatever it may be. Data needs to come back in to make sure that there's innovation and iteration on the product. Otherwise, if you just put something out to market, it's not technology and innovation. It's just a product. So diving deeper, we're going to expand some of the buckets. And I really wanted to do this because I know that Untapped Energy has a disproportionate amount of CPAs, as I was a lot of finance people. How many people work in finance here or worked in finance? Okay, so maybe not disproportionate. Anyway, we'll talk about finance. So from a perspective of managing the product, the creation and delivery, you're not actually doing the creation, but you're helping. From the data, you are providing the loop. You're collecting, gathering, organizing the data, however it looks like. Managing people. This isn't exactly just supervisory. It can be beyond that. Managing the finance. Do you understand the control or the flow of money in and out of the organization? And with technology, it's a little bit different. And then the experience. Do you manage how the product is used or consumed? Or however it might be manipulated by people that want to use it, the end user results. So the best way to think of these 5 buckets, think of a software company that develops a tool for industrial engineers that on-site need project controls, real-time results. So industrial engineering, project controls people need real-time results software. And think of all the different buckets and the roles that would need to happen in here. I know you're like, but this doesn't give me any examples. Well, yes, it does. There you go. And again, this will be available online. So this is just not an exhaustive list. This is something that I wanted to keep it simple to show you, here's what it could look like if and when you do flip into technology. So again, managing the product managers. These are people that understand how the delivery of product happens, when it happens, why it happens, give the feedback to the engineers or the developers or the coders, whomever it might be. They're also maybe a little bit project managers. So project management, I think, is one of the biggest or most transferable skills that I see coming from an oil and energy background, going into technology and innovation. And then QA testing. You cannot have a product without it getting tested somehow, somewhere. That doesn't mean that you need to know the code. You just need to test it and say, it's not working for me. I have a cousin that works at BioWare. His job is to hit his character into every single pixel. And he gets paid a shit ton of money to do that. I couldn't do QA testing. Not for me. I can't do that. It works. It's great. Fine. Managing data. So roles under the data aspect. The data scientists, which are very, very important because when you go to put in machine learning or artificial intelligence, you best have clean data. And clean data only happens when you have very smart data scientists coming in and saying, this is what it should look like, this is how it should be organized. And data scientists are just people that understand the data with a scientist behind them. And we don't need to know if they're engineers or not. There hasn't been any testing on that. Business advisors, so basically understanding how the business runs with the data that you receive, either from the consumers, from the project managers, product managers, the coders themselves, whomever's manufacturing the product. All of this information, again, data is the feedback loop for every single company. The people. So managing people is not just supervisory. It could be the payroll, it could be human resources, it could be the operations team, it could be the CFO, the CTO, all of the C-suites. You can get into those roles as well, as long as you have experience understanding how to manage people. If you don't like managing people, just skip this bucket. It's not for everybody. Managing finance. So when it comes to technology and innovation, finance is super important. Most importantly because if there's a company that wants to go to IPO, or I think it's independent product offering, pricing offering, basically sell their company public, you need to have a CFO on staff. And CFO is just an elevated controller. So from that perspective, making sure that there's investment dollars coming in. When do you seek investment dollars? Do you seek investment dollars? Do you seek grants? We need grant writing for that. Are you looking to do non-dilutive funding, which means getting debt financing from banks? How much is that going to cost your company? All of these different types of things, when it comes to finance, can easily transition from where you were in non-technology to technology. Just understanding how you need to know where the flow is going. Grant writing is actually very important. And when it comes to the dollars and figures and things like that, grant writing will actually come up with more information from an accounting perspective than from a product manager perspective. And that is from my own experience. You need somebody with a finance background to do your grant writing. And then manage experience. So Tim, you had a great slide up here earlier that was talking about the 9 million people, I think it was, in user experience, essentially, in the experience sector. So user experience design, which is commonly known as UX design, if you've got a creative outlook, that could be something that you could put in. A lot of software development companies are going user design first, user experience design first. So having that creative lens could be very beneficial. Technical sales, too. You can't sell a product, or you can't build a big company unless you have a product to sell. And who's going to sell that product? Somebody that understands it. Just don't be the one that goes, I need a PhD in solar engineering to understand and sell my product for me. No, you don't. You don't need a PhD to sell something. You just need to know what the relationship is between the buyer and the product. Digital marketing. I will talk about my favorite person at the very end of this, who's a digital marketer, but doesn't come from a technical background. And then customer success. So customer success is basically keeping everybody happy that's using your product, whatever that product may be, or reasonably happy, trying to get that 10 out of 10 score. So now that we've talked about the roles, this is basically taking an inner look. We know what the roles are. We know some examples of them. Now that you have some examples, you can take that to the next level, and I will show you how to figure out where they are out in the world. But basically, looking at this, within the last 8 years, 25% of the skills needed for day-to-day work have changed. Who here had dial-up? Okay, a few of us. So I heard an interesting statement the other day. Some of us grew up with the internet, and some of us grew up with the internet. And if you understand that, you're my people. So I grew up with the internet. We grew up together. So there's things that we learned, from the dot matrix printers all the way up to the laser printers, to yes, everything. All the technology changes. We are seeing a faster advancement of technology than ever before. So Moore's law means that technology advances every 12 to 18 months. OpenAI, sorry to bring up something that's such a touchy subject, has advanced that probably 6 to 12 months now. So Moore's law has accelerated, which means that the technology that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis is going to be ever-changing and moving faster and faster. So you need to keep up. So how do you keep up? You need to have a baseline knowledge. You need to know what your skills are, your transferable skills. You need to know what your competencies are. I'll talk about that in a second. Your abilities, what do you bring to the table? And then your overall attitude, which is the one thing that we cannot train, but is something that you show up every day with a great attitude. You could be the crappiest worker in the world. Trust me, I was in HR. So when it comes to the KSAs, as we commonly know them, knowledge, skills, abilities, and attitude, competencies are the continual refinement of these. So competencies or behavioral competencies, things like conflict resolution, problem solving, customer success, leadership. And these all sound like buzzwords, but they need to be specific, measurable, and an indicator of performance. So can you show if somebody's a good leader? Yes. Can you show if somebody can resolve a conflict? Well, yeah, there's basically 3 outcomes to that: win, lose, or draw. Can you figure out how to problem solve? Well, yeah. Teamwork. All of these things are competencies that you can transfer over. But it's up to you to tell us how to do that. Because as a recruiter or recovering recruiter, I do not know you unless you put it on a piece of paper. I do not know what you bring to the table. So if you can tell me that you are an effective leader of a team of 8 to create the highest performing team, beating Q4 sales year over year, or whatever it is, month over month, cool. That's some data I can take. Obviously, I'm big on data. I use predictive analytics to design how to hire. So when it comes down to competencies and putting them out there, know that when you're doing your competencies, anytime that you do something well, let's say public speaking. Let's say you like public speaking. You do it, and you're good at it. You get that feedback loop of, hey, that was a really good presentation. I enjoyed it, Allie. Just putting it out there. And when you get that feedback, you want to do it again. Conversely, if you wouldn't want to be up here if your life depended on it, you do not like public speaking, you will not do public speaking, and you regret ever thinking that you could do public speaking, you'll avoid it. So as long as you're in a refinement loop of a positive reinforcement and not the negative reinforcement, you're always working on your competencies. Always, always, always. So this comes to the interactive portion. This is not an exhaustive list. I've seen a lot of this happening on resumes. I have no idea what it means. How can you be 88% leadership capacity or capability? Cool, great. Don't put a percentage, I don't care. It means nothing to me. 88% of 1 is great, but 88% of 200, even better. I don't know what it is. So what I want you to do for this, we're gonna create a skills inventory. And this is your tool to take home. So, anybody got pens and paper? I see pens and paper. Ah, my people, yay. Anybody that doesn't have pens and paper, you can take a picture of your leg or the seat beside you or whatever it is. And I mean everybody. This is the one thing you're gonna take away today. Take a picture. I'll wait. For those of you that have the pen and paper, you're gonna go, you don't need to take a picture of this, just like something that you can write on. You're gonna mark on the picture. That's all you're gonna do. The pens and paper, we're gonna do marking on the video or picture as well. Vertical line, horizontal line. You're making a quadrant. So you take a picture, you go into markup mode, line and line. That's your quadrant. At the very top of that vertical line, you're gonna put a heart. I love the paper here, thank you. I've got my little, tiniest little booklet ever. It's the best. Heart at the top of the vertical line. At the very bottom, broken heart. At the very left of the horizontal, you're gonna put an X. And at the very right, you're gonna put a check. So now we have very top, love it. Very bottom, hate it. Very left, not good. Very right, good. And this is how you track your skills, your competencies, your tasks, your duties, your chores, whatever it might be. You're gonna plot it on this graph wherever you want. So we don't get this. And I wanted this to be audience participation because I sent this deck out to people and they're not gonna get this unless they watch the video, so. When you have your skills quadrant, you start writing things like, did P&L for October 2023. And that goes into the very bottom left corner for me. I hate it. I don't like doing it. I'm not good at it. So things you aren't good at, things that you are good at, or you perceive yourself to be good at, things that you perceive yourself not to be good at, things you love doing, things you hate doing. And you just plot as you go. And this can be done daily activities, it can be monthly activities. annually, whatever it might be, the once-in-a-lifetime chances. And the reason why you're recording these is so that you build an implicit understanding of what you're good at, what your skills are, what your competencies can be. Because if you don't start recording it down, your resume will not have them at all. At all. So this is your one piece of homework. You don't have to do it now. But when you do get home or wherever it is, start writing things down, being like, I love this, I hate this. I'm actually really good at this, but I don't want to do it. That's what we call leadership potential. Delegate, delegate, delegate. So the skills inventory is going to help you decide how and where you need to go. When you start plotting them down, then you do your research. You start looking at jobs in companies that you want to work for. Not necessarily that you're ready to work for, but that you want to work for. Because then you can see things like must-have leadership capabilities. Well, I got 88%. No, you don't. No, you don't. But you can say, I've led a team of 5, or I led a team of 8, or I resolve customer resolutions. I've got customer resolutions 9.5 out of 10. I consistently get net promoter scores of 5 out of 5. These are things that are measurable and performance indicators. But when you compare them to the job postings, and again, we'll dive a little bit more into that later. I'm trying to give this like a 20,000-foot view because I usually do this over 3 months. So in an hour is a little bit tough. What if your inventory is lacking? And you think, well, Allie, that's great, but I just don't have that 88% leadership capability. Cool. There's ways to learn. Specifically when it comes to this little clock here. If we go counterclockwise from informal education. So this is where you talk to your subject matter experts. You're online. You're looking at video tutorials. How many people had a clog sync and went, oh, what do I do now? Where did you go? You went to YouTube, right? Or you found that one guy on TikTok that does these amazing things. I don't know. I'm on TikTok. That's what I do. Informal education is great for learning what's out there and what you need to be learning. And it's kind of like the litmus test out in the world of work. You will always find the algorithm doesn't lie. When it comes to MOOCs, so MOOCs are massive, open, online courses. And places like Harvard offer them. And they're free. So you can learn micro-credentials through these MOOCs. There's many opportunities since 2020. We've seen a lot more online certification happen. One of my favorite things, Indigenous Alberta, or Indigenous Canada, was offered through the University of Alberta. You can do that for free to understand a little bit more about what Tim was saying, or you can pay to get the certification as well. Industry-specific training. So my friends at OnRamp, so 321 Growth Academy has OnRamp, which works with digital marketers and gives people an opportunity to relearn or upskill into digital marketing. We also have Tacit Edge. Tacit Edge specifically works to create certifications and designations in product management. And they recently won the Start Alberta Awards for newcomers, so emerging technology. So they're online, self-taught, self-paced, or a 12-week program to learn product management. We've got Inception U, which helps to do with a whole bunch of tech adjacent and helps people understand if tech adjacent is for them or if they should actually focus on learning a technical skill. We've got the machine learning lab, so AltaML, which is one of the AI sweethearts of Alberta. They have the machine learning lab that offers a 6-month training program for people to learn about machine learning, which also happens to be like a pipeline for them. So they put people through with potential of this program and then hire the best ones out. And then the people that they don't hire go work for other companies. So it's a win-win-win-win-win all the way across. You can actually go and get your formal education. So if you're looking for designations, certifications, anything that would be something behind you, make it happen. That's wonderful as well. That's going to be the more pricey option of all of this. the technology-specific training, so think of Google SEO, think of LinkedIn Learning, anything that helps you learn about that one tool, one product. Microsoft, you could spend your entire life learning everything there is to do on Microsoft. Don't do it. It's so much time. Not cost. There's no cost to it. They just take all of your time. So time versus money is one of those things, right? And then community involvement. You're here tonight at Untapped Energy at a meetup. We've also got Toast for those that are femme or non-binary individuals looking to get into technology. Toast is there. We also have Cities, so Careers in Technology and Innovation, which is another company that works, or organization that works to bring talent into careers in technology and innovation. And the reason why I'm talking about community involvement is when you're around like-minded people, you get to sharpen that skill of networking, and networking is one of the big three that you need to do when it comes to transitioning into tech. We are a relationship-based society. You will get your next job based on the relationships you have and not your resume, and I can guarantee that. One of the other things I was thinking about is, have you ever seen the movie Hidden Figures? Okay, so being involved in your community, again, you're around things that are new and evolving, and you've got your ear to the ground. What's the new tech coming through? Where Moore's Law, again, is 6 to 12 months, not 12 to 18. In Hidden Figures, they learned how to code with punch cards, which was the OG way to do it. But they figured out how to do it because they knew something was happening. So the women started to learn. And then everybody learned how to code, which is really cool. So think of it like Hidden Figures. You're going to be on the cutting edge of what's new when you're involved in community. All right, hang in there, we're almost done. I promise. So I want to make sure that you have a way to cross that bridge. Go from where you are to where you want to go. As a recovering recruiter, I hate resumes. I will not look at resumes. I will not ever do a resume review because I don't want to. I've seen enough of them, almost hundreds of thousands of them. My 22, 23 years of recruitment. But you need to keep them updated. Nothing sucks worse than seeing somebody that has a 10-year gap because they I forgot to update my resume. What were you doing the last 10 years? I have no idea. And if you're still using Skype, we got a problem. Skype. Skype was like the Microsoft tool, yeah. Back in my day, leverage your network. Again, people that you know are going to be listening. They're going to know of opportunities. If you start telling people, hey, I'm looking to get into tech. Oh, I know somebody that knows somebody that, they work at Benevity, or insert random unicorn here. And then you need to create a personal brand, because if you were always the recruiter that worked in finance, when you go and switch over into technology and innovation, you only know a whole bunch of finance people, right? So you need to switch your brand. Who do you want to be? And that's why I have an astronaut, because I don't know, you could be. Go NASA. So number one, resumes, keep them updated. Don't be James Bond and put irrelevant information. He was actually part of the intelligent Secret Service, not the British Secret Service. So don't falsify your resumes, ever. Try a functional resume. So rather than a reverse chronological resume, which everybody knows about, I worked here, this is a company name, this is the title, this is how long I worked. A functional resume takes your skill sets, your competencies. So I had a functional resume when I switched from finance into heavy industrial engineering, into environmental science, and then I started my own companies. And that meant nothing to people because they didn't know what I did. Besides working for RBC, I was not a banker. I was a recruiter. So when I did functional resume, I could say recruitment management. This is what I did. These are the people I led. And then I said I was also a supervisor, so my leadership. But I was also good at customer service. And here's what I did with that. So you can take your competencies from that skills inventory that you started writing down and put them into your resume as situations, tasks, actions, and the results, which also happen to be the way you answer questions in an interview, but we're not talking about that. We're just trying to get you to the interview. So make sure you keep that information relevant, up to date, accurate, and then leverage technology. So my favorite people up in Edmonton called CoverQuick, and you're gonna write that down, CoverQuick. They have an AI tool that parses job postings and resumes and all of the data that you can provide them. So if you have your LinkedIn profile, you put it into CoverQuick as well, put all the data in there, it goes, here's what you got. Here's what they're looking for. Here's the gap you might have, but let's write you a resume. And it does it in seconds. And I'm so happy that it exists. So CoverQuick is created by, or has been created by, 2 kids, literal kids. They just graduated from the University of Alberta. And I wish I had that brain power, but I don't, I just support them. So CoverQuick is technology to help you rewrite a resume. And I say rewrite because every time you have a resume and you put it out to the world of hiring, and you don't have the language that mimics the language that's in the job posting, or you include the wrong hiring manager's name on a cover letter or whatever it is, there's not enough support I have in this world to help you with that. So you need to rewrite it, but if you've got a tool like CoverQuick, you can rewrite it in seconds. You're welcome. From that, just know that the mimicking of the language is a confirmation bias. And again, as an organizational psychologist, confirmation bias is one of the biggest indicators of whether or not somebody will like somebody else. Because it's similar. You look like me, you act like me, you talk like me. You use the same language as me. I'm gonna move you through. Mimic the language. Connect with leverage your network. This is your connections. You would be surprised at how many people have the opportunity to get you in the door, behind the scenes, with talking with people that might have the job that you want, or might have the ability to hire you for the job that you want. So you need to connect with like-minded folks to be like, hey, I want to go work at ShareWorks or Neo Financial. Do you know anybody there? Or I specifically want to work in product management at Neo Financial. Is there somebody you could introduce me to? You need to find those super connectors. I am a super connector. I might be able to get you in the front door or the back door, whichever it might be, to get connected with these individuals. And sometimes it's just a LinkedIn, hey, you should talk with this person. But know that when you leverage your network, you're asking for time. And there needs to be some sort of gratitude for that. Whatever gratitude you wish to offer, make sure it's time that you're taking, like a 5-minute ask. Could you connect me to somebody? I can do that. But you go, here's my resume. What do you think? First off, ew. Second off, I don't know. I don't know what to think. Who do you want to talk to? I don't know don't make me think. I'm a recruiter. My brain hurts. I don't want to do that anymore. Don't make me think. Don't make me guess. If I guess wrong. Look to connect with professionals in the field. So people that are in the job that you want. Hi, we met at Untapped Energy Meetup on November 20th. I would like to know more about being a recovering recruiter. Could you help me? It was great to connect with you. Oh, I love that piece that you had over here. Cool, amazing. And then again, if you leverage your network and you ask for introductions, I'm looking to become a product manager in technology. These are the companies I was hoping to get for. Do you know somebody that I could talk to about this? Oh yeah, I've got like 5 people. Be specific, be grateful, or gracious, either or, and tell people what you're looking for, and make it a 5-minute ask, no more. Your network is gonna be your net worth. So cheesy, but it's true. We are a relationship-based hiring society. And I know that doesn't mean a lot to the people from Canada, born and raised here, but when you have international experience, relationship-based hiring is weird, very weird. Because otherwise you could just send a resume out, get me a job. I got a job for you, just like that. Nope, doesn't work like that. You are literally competing with thousands of applications if you put your resume out into the ether. You might not hear back. Recruiters invented ghosting. You will never hear back from them. Which is why. So I wrote down 30-second elevator pitch, and I realized that not everybody knows what that is. If you get into an elevator and you're talking with the chief of people at Benevity, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the opportunity. I get to talk to them about the job I want. You have 30 seconds between floors before those doors open up again and they get out. So who you are, what you're looking for, what you bring to the table, that's all it needs to be. Hi, I'm Allie Knull. I'm a recovering recruiter. I work with predictive analytics and behavioral science to make the best hiring decisions for your company. That was less than 30 seconds. That's all you need to know. Right there, I have a tagline. I've got like what I do. I've got something that interests people. And I've said hello. That's all that matters. Attend targeted, purposeful events when it comes to your brand. And I mean this in the nicest way. You can go bonkers when it comes to networking. And if you're one of those serial networkers, kudos. If you're somebody like me, tonight is going to drain my energy for the entire week. This is it. I'm sorry, folks. I might be very bubbly, but I've got a little bit of introversion behind all of this. So I'm going to go sneak away and just die for a little bit. When it comes to events, if you don't go to targeted specific events, you're going to end up with people that are not like-minded. They don't have the same purpose. They don't have the same drive. They don't have the same idea of where they want to be in the world. So if you go to events that are like just meetups for people that wear brown shoes, cool. But are they all looking for jobs in technology? Probably not. And be purposeful. If you go to too many events, you're probably not spending the time that you need to in the other areas. But again, relationship-based hiring. I also mean this in the nicest way, but recruiters suck. As a recovering recruiter, I know this. We ghost people, we gatekeep, we make bad decisions, and we do it all with bias. It's great. So when you're looking to get hired or connected to somebody, go beyond the recruiters, go behind them, go to the hiring managers, talk to people that make the decisions. Recruiters do not make the decisions. They read every resume, yes. ATS bots are not what you think they are. But they just pass the information on. So hiring managers are the ones that are actually going to be able to make the decision on whether or not you get the job, whether or not you get the interview, who you talk to, do you go to the panel. So if you can get connected to the people that make the hiring decisions, that's best. And then you have your 30-second pitch. And then be prepared. You might go to one of these events, get connected with a super connector, and go, why are you interested in AI? I don't know. I thought it was cool. Everyone thinks it's cool. Okay, but why would you want to work in AI? Figure out your next thing. What's it going to be? Be prepared. You might get asked questions on the spot. So you've got your competencies that you're putting into your resumes with your situation, task, what the action was, and the result. That's how you answer those questions. You just kind of like flip back into what did they put in my resume? Or what did CoverQuick put in my resume? But these are the 3 areas that you should have. So resume, updated, resume and cover letter. I hate resumes, I hate cover letters more. Don't trust me on anything, recovering recruiter, okay? Work your network, ask, be gracious, and then have your personal brand ready to go. What's holding you back? This is really, okay, it doesn't look that bad. I had this on a very small computer. I'm like, oh, that's a lot of information. Sorry. You'll have this eventually. 4 major things. People think that they lack experience. Well, that's not true. You were that 8-year-old business analyst cutting lawns. We know exactly what you were doing. You've been working somehow, somewhere with all of this information. You just did not plop out of the sky as some alien being and have nothing to do with work. Everything that you've done up until this point is experience. And you can utilize that as how you present yourself and your brand. You can learn if you feel like you don't have enough. You can volunteer with the places that you might, again, those specific targeted events, volunteer with the right people. Innovation Week, it's a great week to volunteer. Get to meet everybody that's walking through the doors at all the events. Keep your resume updated. If you do not have that information updated, there is no hope. I can't help you. If I don't know what I don't know as a recruiter. I can make inferences, but as soon as I start guessing, I'm making the wrong choice. So you have to tell me what I don't know. What are you doing in the last 10 years? I don't know. You didn't update it since 2013. Update your socials. So I hate social media. It's great. It's worse. When you're looking for a job, if you have your information on your socials just being like, this is what I do, I worked in banking. Cool. That's not going to help if you get a job or looking to get a job in technology and innovation. People can search on LinkedIn for specific titles, taglines, and everything. So if you do not update your socials with interested in blank, you're completely off the radar. And if you use LinkedIn like a resume, you are so much more off the radar. The radar's not even there. Your resume will only, the LinkedIn information will only pull up what you have behind. If you've got skills that you're sharpening or competencies that you're working on, put it in there. Hashtags mean everything. Twitter or X or whatever we're calling Elon's tool, whatever it is. There's lots of information, and a lot of recruiters are on X, believe it or not. They will find things. You can learn a lot from them just by adding them in, following them. But again, I'm not one of them. I'm recovering. Imposter syndrome. A lot of people, specifically women in technology and innovation, have imposter syndrome. If you feel like you're not good enough, do a job gap analysis, which, by the way, my friends at CoverQuick have one of those. Really simple. Put in your data, put in the job, what's missing. And if you want to do it old school, take your resume, take the job posting, and match it across. Either way works. But what is missing? Again, when you feel like you're not good enough or you're not in the right area or it's really hard to get in the roles, be around people that are trying the same thing. You'll see how hard everybody else is working and you'll want to work hard too. Or you'll hear success stories, which is great, which is also another one. Write out your success stories. You didn't just get here from cutting lawns or being Subway. Again, not sure, artist or train, not sure. But this wasn't your first job. You've had some successes along the way. Remember that. Because it sucks looking for a job, especially transitioning. You need to take your whole entire identity and realign it. The micro-credentials were things that added in. Again, Tacit Edge provides those micro-credentials. On-ramp, you can do it for digital marketing. You can get SEO certification through Google. All of these different pieces you can add into your toolkit, just so that you feel like you've done something to get into the innovation and technology sector. And last but not least, if you want to mentor people, and I know this sounds kind of weird, but if you're trying to get in there, you're still 2 steps ahead of somebody else that's trying to get in. You can be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. And you can help others. Help others help themselves too. If you don't know where to go, here's another one that you're going to write down. Joboffer.com. Local, they work actually straight back there if you walk west as far as you can on platform Calgary until you hit the wall. That's where they work. Job Offer is a technology-based job board. Their tagline is the last job board you'll ever apply to, because they use natural language processing to parse your resume, which you've updated through CoverQuick, and whatever job posting is in there. So companies pay to use that website. There's over 1 million users in there, and you get aggregated into the job postings based on what your resume has listed, which is really cool. And it's always in refinement. And again, you can always put more refinement into your resume. So check out the local tech job boards. Platform Calgary, up in Edmonton, we have Edmonton Unlimited. With that, there's job boards that are posted from the startups in the community. They're just trying to get their words out there. So subscribe to newsletters, connect with those job boards, see what else is out there. And again, connection. You're networking online and in person. I think, Tim, what was it, 10x in person? Yeah. 1 time to connecting in person means 10 times or equals 10 times connecting online. So if there's an opportunity to be here in person, which, thank you, my gratitude for everybody showing up here tonight. Thanks for coming to hear me speak. This is where you're going to get connection from. This is where you're going to hear success stories, you're going to hear failures. And that's okay too, because you can learn from other people's mistakes. And then if you're really, really, truly stuck, seek out a career coach. But I put that at the very bottom because that is not an accessible option for a lot of people, and career coaches are really expensive. So, don't know where to go? Ask. And then don't remember how. So this is for that poor person that didn't update their resume after 10 years. Okay. And I've had to do that. I was actually, has anyone seen Up in the Air? Okay. I was that person for a little bit. It was disgusting. I would walk into companies that had 35 years, people have been working there. They had so much stuff in their offices that we had to cart it out in boxes and said, I'm so sorry you don't work here anymore. But guess what? I'll help you write your resume. I got paid a really good sum of money to do that too, so it's okay. I've had to walk people through the process of hiring again or applying again. So my favorite thing to do is tell people, research 10 companies. And I like to think 10 innovation companies, but 5 big ones, and then 5 small ones. Somebody that's doing something that piques your interest. What are you working on? What are you solving? What is the problem that you're solving? A lot more social enterprises are evolving today. So there's a lot more than just the product. It's about who we are as a person. So the Good Lawyer team, I'm sure everybody's heard of Good Lawyer here. Yeah, the party team, party lawyers. They got a yacht. We're gonna have a yacht party. It's amazing. They're great, but they do good work too. And they go out into the world and donate a lot of money to different cancers. So there's lots of things that you can get behind with Good Lawyer if you're not just the party yacht person. Ask your friends and family for advice, because chances are they've seen somebody, they know somebody, they've heard something. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. Ask if anybody knows of jobs. Can you introduce me to somebody? And then, again, CoverQuick. I swear to you, I am not sponsored by CoverQuick. I just really like what they're doing because I hate resumes. Okay, one last thing before we get into the question and answer, so be ready, Tim. I have a tale of 2 hires. I had 2 different people with the company that I started called Resume Free, which uses predictive analytics and behavioral competencies and behavioral science to hire without using a resume as a data point. Not bad, hey? I hired a professional engineer, which, okay, cool, Allie, that's totally transferable. He was an electrical engineer. That doesn't work in technology at all, but his pathway was electrical engineer, then working for a very large financial taxation company in Canada, then going to work for a very large gaming company in Edmonton, then going to work for a very large and growing solar installation harnessing the sun's power company as an operations person. And then I said, can you help me out with some project management? I'm creating a tool. And he's like, I like what you're doing. I got some HR background. I'm like, yeah, but you're a PN. He's like, don't worry, I got this. And he was the best gosh darn CTO I've ever had, because he was able to take the technology, he was able to take his experience with working in gaming, he's been able to take his financial experience working in the taxation area, and then he was able to parlay that all into how do you hire without resumes? And he put us through a couple of iterations. So it's amazing. So yes, a little bit different. But then, different person, completely different person, I hired the janitor. And oh, by the way, I didn't use any of their resumes. I just found this stuff out after. The janitor worked for the city. It was his survival job. He was laid off from manufacturing, I think. Manufacturing? I don't care. I don't know. I don't care. I met him when he first used my tool a year before I did a presentation at OnRamp. So I've seen him go through the whole process. Yeah, good for you. Awesome. I've seen him go through the whole process. He's gone through the system. He was in the tool. He believed in what we were doing. And when I said, would you work for me? He's like, well, let me think on it. The next day, I had a 12-page, 12-month calendar of content to create for Resume Free. because he was like, I believe in what you're doing. This is what I want to do. But he was a janitor on his resume, and then a manufacturing person. But because I could see what he wanted to do, and he was aligned with what we were doing, and oh, by the way, he used our process, so I had all the data behind it. I could see his competencies, his skill set. Him and I have been working together for over a year now, and we come up with some really cool stuff. But I hired the janitor. So it can be done. I've done it from a hiring manager perspective, but I've also done it myself. So my background, I went to school to become a biochemist. I wanted to be a forensic toxicologist when I grew up. This was before CSI. Again, dial-up internet, people, dial-up internet. Before CSI came out, I wanted to be a forensic toxicologist, and I thought this was going to be amazing. And after spending a few years in the lab, not so cool. I don't want to be in a lab for 40 years with 2 other people. Not my jam. And that's fine. So then I went into restaurant hospitality. As you do. My first job, hostess. I learned how to smile. And then I went into more management, and I started hiring people. And then I went into finance, and I worked at RBC. And at one point, I had 5 different time zones where I looked at many different resumes, and I thought I was going crazy. High volume recruitment has nothing on me these days, which is good. Which is why also there's scar tissue. That's why it's recovering recruiter, not just like an ex-recruiter. I'll be okay, I promise. After the financial, I went to heavy industrial, oil and energy, which I think is a rite of passage for everybody in Alberta. And then from there, environmental science, which my background in biochem actually helped me out. And then I hung up my own shingle, and I helped companies hire. Companies like Alta and Mel used us. Bitcoin Well. We had solar farm companies. So all of these new technology and innovation places where there was no recipe, there was no process on how to hire. We created that. So when it comes to showing you that you can transition into technology and innovation, I literally wrote the book in Alberta. And I've done it. And now I have my own tech startup. So, I mean, it can be done. But again, I want you to leave today 4 outcomes. So, did we define what tech adjacency was? Yes? Okay. And you got some examples? Something you'll be able to take. You've got a skills inventory, or a skills cross, as we call it. You can take that and start marking away to your heart's content. Or if you just want to do it a list, that's fine. And like cross things out that you don't love, you don't think you're good at. Really, you just need to focus on the top quadrant. That's it. What do you love? What do you good at? You've got your 3 key tools to transition: your resume, your network, and your personal brand. And there's places that can help you with all 3 of those. And then some of the challenges that you might overcome or might have to overcome, we've addressed them. There could be more, there could be less. I really wish that your path is going to be very, very easy. But I've covered a lot. It's like running hair straight back. What the hell, Allie? I don't know what to do. That's okay. You can connect with me. One more time, this is my QR code. But we're going to ask questions. And so hopefully this is going to work.
Mike up here. So if you've got a question, flag either myself or Allie down. We'd love to hear your question, and everyone else would as well. And then, anyone have a question?
You can also do it anonymously through here if you're more introverted than I am. Yes, you can be okay with public speaking and introversion. I'm just going to go into the fetal position when I get back to my hotel. It's fine. Are they coming through, Tim, at all?
We do have a live question here, so.
Of course, of course.
Thank you. It was a fabulous presentation.
Thank you.
My name is Wendy. I am a retired geologist, and came here not really knowing what I was walking into, but I have a question for the group, and if anybody's interested, I'd like them to please approach me. What I have done is I've recently attended the University of Calgary to get my PhD in geology, because what I did is I spent 6 years mapping and 2 years studying and use source rock in Alberta, which is now proven. And what I want to do is find a very large company, something similar to the company that just wrote the 10th Symphony, where it didn't turn out that well. So I want a really good company, not a telecom company, to write a new program to enable artificial intelligence to some degree for the Cretaceous mapping in Alberta of and how to determine and unravel the geology of retro-4-arc basins in any retro-4-arc basin in the world. So please come and talk to me if you're at least a bit interested or might help me down this path. I do have some funding, up to $10 million at this point, so I'm looking to move forward. Thank you.
Wendy, holy. Okay, so $10 million of funding to create an AI model for mapping Cretaceous and what was the rock formation? Many formations, okay.
Plastic formations in a retro-arc portland basin anywhere in the world. But this will be the protege with so much data.
Good. Okay, so much data, you can do the analogs, create the modeling for global domination. Wonderful, okay. Does anybody here actually do AI modeling? I don't know, hey, she's got $10 million. Are there any questions coming through on Slido? Okay. Oh, hey. Oh, man. Okay, so you can also upvote questions as well if you see one that you want to talk about. Please provide tips on finding hiring managers. They hide. They never come out after dark. They have very elusive LinkedIns. They will not put their title in. So it's essentially working your network to work your network. That's all it is. Unfortunately, there's a lot of companies that will not allow hiring managers or recruiters or HR people to put their title in. So they'll have something fancy and elusive like, I coalesce the vapors of humanity for creating AI and ML. Cool. Look, I see your hand up. I'll come there. Hiring managers, basically, you get introduced to them from people that work in the organization. And it could be somebody that's a frontline person that you get introduced to, but they'll know, hey, my boss is so-and-so. Why don't you talk to them? So other than that, sorry, you're on your own. Ooh, how can you get past the too old bias? It is very real, and I have seen it recently played out. Unfortunately, there's going to be lots of people that will still think of ageism as not in existence, but it does exist. So from the too old bias, what I would say is show that you're learning and that you continue to learn. And I know that's kind of cheesy, but a lot of times when we think of people that have been to school, like I went to school in the 90s. That's the 1990s. So that's last century, for those of you playing the home game. Last century work, and if I put that on my resume that I have education in the 1990s, that doesn't look very well. So things like removing the times of when education or certification was received is one of the ways. Unfortunately, when it comes to going past bias, there will still be the human factor. So if you really want to dive into some of the stuff that piques my interest in my brain, there's something called the Cognitive Bias Codex. And it is a codex of all the different types of biases, where there's 174 biases that we have on a day-to-day basis when we make decisions. And recruiters work in all 4 of those quadrants that they have in the codex. So just know that. Bias, unfortunately, if you get past one point from a screening perspective and the resume perspective, there still could be bias when you show up. And that goes with any type of marginalization: age, race, gender, sexuality, whatever it might be. So to combat that, work with people that outwardly say, we don't do this. We are inclusive. We help people belong. So that's the only way that you can really truly combat the bias, is work with people that make statements against it. And I hope that helps. Bias sucks. What else do we got here? Okay, if you say it, I'll... Yeah.
I just want to expand on that again. That I've also been told in industry and kind of some events that at times LinkedIn can almost be like a YouTube thing where you're having to train an algorithm to do kind of like refresh your brand, refresh yourself over and over again. Is that something that's actually a common thing, and do you see that changing in the future or becoming much more ingrained? It's a loaded question, but.
So your question is about, should you betray the algorithm or work with the algorithm on socials?
I suppose.
Yeah. I would say work with the algorithm. Always be updating, because algorithms, again, are like multiple series of like going back and forth. So they're picking up information that you put in. So if you like a certain post, it triggers on the algorithm. If you're following a certain topic, it triggers on the algorithm. If somebody comes across your feed and you spend a little bit too long like reading it because it's one of those like stories that start, well, I want to bake this banana bread, but here's my life story first. Recipe at the end. When you do this, when you go through it, you're basically saying, I'm curious about this topic, but also like be very specific. If there's people that you don't want to align with anymore, if there's statements made that just there's no, again, political alignment, social, economic alignment, anything like that, if you want to focus on a specific company, follow that company, follow the people that are in there. A lot of times you can follow people without connecting with them too. So you can curate your own algorithm, but always be in refinement there, because things could change, right? So it is a loaded question, but always be curating.
I take over that one day.
It might. Somebody could create it. So, but think of it this way, artificial intelligence is just a way to have an algorithm that is in a constant refinement, right? There's reinforcement learning, there's machine learning. I'm sorry. Just plug your ears for a second. This might be a little inaccurate, but it's going to be, the algorithm will always be changing, right? And so if you think of an algorithm aligned to cotton candy or octopus wrangling, you know, I want to follow all the jobs for octopus wrangling. You put it in there, hashtag octopus wrangling, it's going to pull it up. But if for that one chance you just follow a squid one time, that squid's going to change things, right? Your algorithm's going to pull in more squid-related information. And then all of a sudden you're following sperm whales and sea otters, and it's weird. Okay. Do LinkedIn certifications actually help? No, but it shows that you're learning. And it boasts out to everybody. So it might, I don't know. I guess when it comes to the informal certifications, do you find value? Because a lot of times the informal certifications are like low code, no code, and free. So it's a time versus money thing. If you have the time to input into it and you want to be learning in that, that's great. But there's also an issue. So my partner, this is my husband. He's just hiding over there. He's my bodyguard tonight. He has a coworker that like signed up for every single course that the company offered. Every single course. And all of a sudden was like, I don't understand why I have to go into telecommunications department. Because you were the only one that was certified, dude. So be very, very careful and very choosy on what you want to do, because otherwise your company might be like, and here you are. Here's the server room. Please go nuts. Network system analysis. Yay. So certifications, time, money, is it worth it? Right? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is the time investment able to give you something in return? Let's see, what do we got? A few tools.
Let's do one more.
Yeah.
Let's do one more question from the Q&A. And then Allie's going to hang around afterwards, so feel free, you can ask her more questions afterwards as well.
Absolutely. let's see. So we've got, what's the most drastic career change example that you have seen? I mean, I thought the janitor one was pretty good, but let's see. Okay, okay. So there's actually a very lovely fellow that I have the pleasure of knowing who will actually be doing some of the work, hopefully for my data. He works in HR for a bank, but he is a twice postdoctoral scientist that works in data, right? The bank is not paying him enough money, guaranteed. I've seen those salaries. But the work that he does allows him to make decisions or provide that feedback loop to the HR team at this bank so that they can make better informed decisions. And he comes from Venezuela, one of the smartest people I know. And so I hope to get to have him on my team one of these days, but we'll see, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, there's the business analyst at 8, cutting lawns, going into mechie engineering, like that's awesome. It could be anything, really. Just really quickly before we end up, the free tools for Albertans. Lots of opportunities. If you're stuck on certain things, there is a website called ALIS, Alberta Learning Information System, and I think it's .ca. That will give you access to a whole bunch of information about the occupations, the titles, the National Occupation Classification Code, which if you really want to look into it, it's how we bring people over on certain visas for work, etc., with the numbering of the job. So every single job has a code, and those codes help the government decide how we're getting new roles in that. Okay, I'll stop talking about that. ALIS actually has wage information, which is amazing. It also has trends. Is this role coming up in the world? Is it going down in the world? Who's hiring? What's the likelihood of getting hired in the next little bit? So lots of information, and most importantly, it is government sanctioned, so that information isn't like pay scale or people on Glassdoor just putting in, I made $1 million last year. Haha, just kidding, it was 50,000. So it is like vetted information taken strictly from government organizations. So ALIS is going to be run around here. That's the number one thing I can say. Other than that, thank you so much for being here tonight.